Hey there, how's it going? This is Bonnie Violet. I am a trans, femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist and digital chaplain. And in case you don't know where you are, you have found yourself on the Drag and Spirituality podcast and in our special series dedicated to our time at the Drag and Spirituality Summit that took place in Chicago in October of 2022. The next few episodes will be panel discussions that we had with drag artists from across the United States, Canada, and beyond. And we just wanted to share the audio with folks who are interested in drag and spirituality. So stay tuned and listen up and bear with the sound. My hope is that we'll work on it being great, but you know how that goes sometimes. So we did our best to try to capture some sound for our first ever Drag and Spirituality Summit in the hopes of being able to upload it here on a podcast for folks who couldn't be there in person. Thank you and enjoy.
Our panelists will share about their experience with their body and other bodies in relation to but not limited to drag and spirituality. So that's it. That's why we're here. Embodiment. We have 4 guests who are on this panel today. Carol Patra, who is in Canada, and I'll have them introduce themselves in a minute. Lola Escándalo in the Ohio, is that how they said it? Ohio? That last night we had a guest who said Ohio, right? I think that's the thing. And then Crazy, who is in the UK. Woo. All right, and then we did have another guest, Miss Fonda Koxx. Fonda Koxx is from Chelsea, New York, and they actually were unable to be here. They ended up having to take an emergency flight home to be with their father, who is not well. So they did share a video that I'll show with you here in a minute. But can we go ahead and just take a moment and have each of you introduce yourselves a little bit, tell us where you're at, where you're from, and just kind of what's on your mind. So, Carol, would you like to go first?
Okay. Hi. Okay. Hi, everyone. I am Kiro Patra in denial from London, Ontario, in Canada, where it's starting to get cold already. It's for an Egyptian queen. It's no fun. I'm also known as Reverend Kiro. I was ordained in the Old Catholic Church back in 2011 in Washington, D.C. I am a queer HIV activist and person living with HIV, Egyptian-born, drag performer, Kiro Patra in denial, pronouns are they, them. I've been someone that's gone through homelessness, addiction, and made it. And here I am to share a little bit of what we are going to talk about today. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome, thanks so much. And Lola.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm Lola, and then the last party said with Escándalo. That's how you say it. And I'm, yes, living in Cleveland, but I'm a Florida boy and girl as well. I'm a yoga and meditation teacher. I spent several years in conversion therapy, and rather than deconstruct my Christian faith immediately, I just threw it in the trash can, went elsewhere. And just in the past couple of years, I've not picked up just my Christian faith, but picked up the right and the calling as a queer person to be spiritually alive. So my yoga and meditation has kind of been the catalyst, but I'm very open to every path. And I believe that God's love is in every path.
Thanks, Lola. And Crazy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Crazy. I'm a trans woman. I am just starting my transition, actually. I live in the UK. I was born in Cyprus, which comes with a lot of trauma, a lot of pain because there was a war still happening there. And I'm in that place in my life now where I'm waking up. I woke up like 3 years ago and everything started falling apart. And I'm now in a place where I'm like, okay, I see why all this happened. And yeah, I guess I'm here to talk about that today. I'm just beginning to start my cacao facilitator journey. And I use drag to kind of like connect with my emotions and to connect with my gender, really. So that's just a little bit brief, I guess. That's just me. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much. And then I'd like to go ahead and play the video that Fonda sent us real quick.
Koxx. My pronouns are they, them out of drag and she, her in drag. Hello, everyone. My name is Fonda Koxx. My pronouns are they, them out of drag and she, her in drag. And I am so incredibly grateful and honored to be talking to you all today about embodiment. What it means to embody ourselves in drag, out of drag, as artists, as creatives, as just ourselves. We don't have to be any of those things. That's what I've learned about embodiment. What I can say is I had to first learn to leave my body. That was my first experience as a queer person, is that to exist in my body with its mannerisms and its voice and its likes and dislikes, all the things that made me me, I first learned to other myself, that there were these parts of myself that were unacceptable, dangerous, not good, not godly. And in that disassociation, I began trying to build this identity of what I thought it meant to be enough, which is the total opposite of embodiment. And in that quest of trying to be enough, good enough for God, my family, society, to experience safety, belonging, I created so much pain. And I lived in so much pain. And so much of my recovery from an eating disorder and substance use disorder has been about grieving that false sense of safety of being enough for the world that wants nothing to do with me, you, or us like this. And living in the vulnerability of taking risk and being who I really am and celebrating who other people are in community with each other, learning to sit in the beautiful connection that is all of the questions of who are we? How do we exist? How do we embody ourselves? How do we support each other? How do we build a life worth living as ourselves? Because I couldn't have hopes and dreams when I didn't know how to love this person. What's the point of building a life when you feel like fundamentally you're damned and you're going to go to hell, and being queer is wrong, and wanting to cook and play with Barbies and all of these things that have absolutely nothing to do with sexuality, being all put together in this gay basket and feeling like all of it is dangerous and bad and off limits. And so today, what it means to embody myself is to be honest, and to show up honestly, to show up vulnerably, to take risks, to understand that myself and no one else on this planet is going to ever have identity completely figured out, but to live in the mystery that is spirituality, to live in the searching that is what life is all about. Discovering, building, growing, changing, acquiring, letting go of. All of these tensions and opposites that somehow find all of us together in the middle. For me, the biggest tool I've learned to really gravitate towards and to hang on to is community. And that is why I'm so grateful for this event, because it is centered in community. It is centered in, we may not have the answers that you're looking for, but we're asking the same questions. And I think that is one of the biggest gifts in my life, is being able to find community and understand that I'm not alone. I am not alone. And drag allows me to question and play with and really discover for myself what pieces do I pull from this play and from this art form to realize exist within me. Because if they don't exist in the character, then how could they, they don't exist. How do I want to say that? Give me a second. If it exists in the character, then it surely exists in me as the artist. And being able to find safety and community as this character to then bring it into the world and find safety and community in day-to-day life. My life is not always the easiest. Like, I'll take risks and make choices without the character, but it is this community, it is this space, it is this art form that lets me know that my bravery to embody my authentic self is a tool of liberation from the same system that once told me this was dangerous. And there's no such thing as one-way liberation. Thank you, Sonia Renee Taylor. The Body is Not an Apology. Highly recommend as a tool of learning to embody yourself. That when I take the risks and the inspiration from other people to begin liberating myself, I'm helping other people find liberation as well. For me, recovery and liberation are synonyms. And knowing that we all collectively are challenging what is considered normal and finding a way to embody the world as a community, built up of individuals centered in exploration, love, appreciation, gratitude, and most importantly, I think, really respecting the hell out of each other. So I hope you enjoy this panel. I am so sorry I couldn't be there in person or live. I'm dealing with a family emergency. And thank you so much, Bonnie Violet, for inviting me to share this message with all of you. You can find me on Instagram. Powerless over the noises of New York City. You can find me on Instagram at FKDrag. I'd love to hear from you. And be yourself. It's what the world needs. Mwah.
Thank you so much, Fonda. Everyone, be keeping Fonda and their family in your thoughts over the next few days, and just we'll keep you posted on how things are going there. But so many good things that Fonda had to say. Fonda is somebody I met a couple of years ago and just fell in love immediately, and just has a way of being able to kind of just great sound bites. Really great speaker that really resonates with me. I think, obviously we're talking about embodiment. Body is kind of a big deal. I know for me, I haven't, I just started to have a relationship with my body personally. I don't know what sort of relationship I have when I was younger, but I was curious to know, what were you told about your bodies, or what was your experience with your bodies as children or younger than you are at least today? Chrissy, would you like to go first?
Yeah. What I was told about my body. Yeah. So I was trying to think of things, and I'm very hairy. Like, I'm from Cyprus, and everyone is very hairy there. And with Cyprus being a part of Europe, like in 2004, everyone started to kind of shift from, everyone has an identity crisis basically. And and everyone is trying to be a Kim Kardashian, which there is nothing wrong with that. But from my perspective, how I received that, everyone was telling me, why don't you shave? And then I started lasering my body basically. And because I didn't feel enough, like I didn't feel I could belong anywhere, and all of my friends were making fun of me. I had a unibrow, and that's why I kind of like draw on this fake unibrow now, because I don't have a unibrow anymore. Because I used to plug it in like you know, and it's gone. So part of myself, I gave it away to them. So that is like within my physical body. I guess that's the first thing I can remember. But if it was, I guess, to talk about my energy body, I would say I remember from when I was 4, everyone was like, "Why are you acting like a girl?" And I was like, what does that even mean? You know, like I was so young, and I'm always so sensitive. So I was always kind of like, I don't know. So from a young age, I've learned that my emotions and my energy and even my physical essence is wrong. And thank God I got into a friend group where they're like, no, we embrace you. We want to celebrate you. And that's when I started realizing, oh my God, what? Is this real? You know, when you have those moments when after all that trauma, and it's like, what? Yeah. And that's when I started being aware of the people around me that would tell me those things, because they would obviously like telling themselves those things. And I was like, okay, you're either going to grow with me if you want to, obviously, or we come coexist in my reality, at least, because it's triggering. And if you don't want to respect that, and if you don't want to change, then, well, yeah, that's my story.
Thank you. And Lola, were you wanting to say something? I thought I'd say, get excited.
Oh, sorry. Now I'm good? Something that comes to mind immediately is just having been shamed so much as a child just for anything that was remotely feminine in my life. I was continually trying to battle that and really butch up my energy. But when I became a teenager, I grew gynecomastia. It's like male breast tissue. And it was just, you know, the biggest mind F and like body dysmorphia, because I was trying so hard to be masculine. My femininity was shamed. I had a physical representation on my body of what was wrong with me. So I would say the shame I felt as a child was very much trapped within my body. And if anything, drag has been the journey of breaking that shame, so that, yes, I can have a spiritual life. Yes, I can do any number of things, but so that I can accept myself, both masculine and feminine, all of that, and it all be beautiful.
Jump in. All right. Okay. So in regards to my side, I mean, being Egyptian, you're told like having body hair is a blessing from God, and you know, going to a Coptic Orthodox church, everything and Egyptianity, it's like they're the same on so many levels, and they shouldn't be, because culture and religion should not be mixed in some way. But you know, growing up with that, and then my older brother being a jock, fairer skinned than me, different shade of skin. He was later than me. He had more friends. I didn't. So it's not just about the body's physicality, but also the color of my skin was shamed. But it was also like a lot of us here, I was a very effeminate boy. And I'll never forget that. I was in grade 4. And my dad threatened me. He's like, oh, if you don't start acting like a man, I'm going to take you to the hospital and turn you into a girl. I had no idea what he meant by that. Like, I was just like crazy. I was like, what? what does that even mean? Like, I had no idea, right? So the trauma informed aspect of me dealing with this after that is falling into the toxic masculinity behavior where my body needed to look a certain type. So working out, had to let my body hair grow and so on, and kind of compete with that, where I myself, I lost who I was in terms of my identity as an Egyptian person, as a non-binary person, and so on. So as a child, those were very traumatizing experiences. And until today, you know, I run an event, Middle Eastern Nights, and I keep hearing, oh, I love Middle Eastern men. You guys are so hairy. You have big D's and whatever. I'm like, girl, if I showed you my D, you'd be disappointed right now. Like, this is all these stereotypes, let them go. Stop fetishizing me, right? Kind of thing. So we're still being fetishized as Middle Easterners more than ever right now because, you know, we're not seen as terrorists anymore, but now we're seen as sex objects, right? So it's like, okay, what the F? Like, when is this going to stop? When is this going to come to an end? And coming into becoming Cleopatra was a way for me not only to embrace being non-binary, but also a big middle finger to my own community and to tell them, stop with the toxic masculinity. This actually, I'm embracing my ancestry. My ancestry, the pharaohs, this is normal. This is not a new trend. This is not something that's, you know, that was non-existent. This has been existing for a very long time. I'm just reclaiming it. That's all it is. So yeah.
Great, thanks so much. Thank you all so much for sharing that. I know like gender is quite the experience with many of us on the panel. If not all of us have either a non-binary or trans identity. And regardless, would you talk a little bit about how your gender plays out in your body and kind of what that relationship has been for you?
What was that question? Can you say it again?
Yeah, just how your gender relates to your body and maybe your perception of your body, how that's played out in your gender expression.
Can I answer that first? I love this question because we're talking about embodiment, and embodiment for me, discovering my non-binary side and how my gender played out in my body has a lot to do with the fact that I've had over 700 lives. And I know that for a fact, and this is my last one. So being my last life on my spiritual energy life in a physical body, I have finally come to terms to accepting that this body I'm in, I love it, but I could also transform it. And that whole aspect of gender, of what it should be, it's not what it was. It's not what it should be, actually. So I've accepted that gender is extremely, extremely fluid in my body because I go by they, them, but I also go by he, him, and she, her, depending on what the energy in me is feeling that day, my past lives resurfacing and coming up to speak and being present in the moment. So it has a lot to do that with me in terms of that. In terms of the exploration of these things, how they played out is it's been wonderful. And I'm very, very grateful to the Two-Spirit Indigenous communities here in Canada because it's them. So I used to tell people, by the way, I am Italian Greek for a long time because after 9/11, saying that you're Middle Eastern was a big no-no. So I used to do that until I was at a bar in a club and a Two-Spirit person came up to me and said, "You're Egyptian." I'm like, "No, I'm not." It's like, no, you're Egyptian. I see it. Your energy is Egyptian. And they taught me that my ancestry are also indigenous and that being non-binary is actually celebrated. And so this was a big awakening in terms of really falling in love with myself and finally discovering the lives that I've had, that all these random deja vus that I'd had around the world of things that I just knew, including my sexual body, things that I would never, like growing up in a conservative family, you don't talk about sex. I was in a private Catholic school. It was not spoken about there either. I literally thought babies came from until grade 9, high school. that an angel of the Lord appeared to mom and told her she's going to have a baby named Kiro. Literally, that's how I thought. That's what I was told how babies were made. So, but I knew things sexually about my own body and how my gender played out that things were not taught to me. And this is how I learned. I'm like, I've had several lives, and now they've all been encompassed into this body, and the gender is so fluid internally. So yeah, that's Cleopatra.
Can I go? I can relate a lot. I can relate a lot to what you said, actually. I do find myself as well sometimes being like, am I trans? Which now I think it's manipulation, but at the same time, I'm like, do I actually want to have a steady thing to identify with? I feel like I'm always changing. So I feel like the realization of being trans, how it started is, okay, maybe I'm more feminine, which I just forgot. Maybe I want to express myself in any way I want. So that's how I feel it in my body. Like, I remember when I did psychedelics for the first time, I was like, I don't care. It was just the energy that was coming through me. It didn't really matter. So that's how it's playing from a positive perspective. And at the same time, I feel like I have parts of me that are still ashamed and still in denial, and they do come out when I put on like a bright lipstick, or I remember specifically like a few months ago, I put on like a red lipstick and I was like, oh my God, my body was like scared. Like, it was very scared because I was like, what is going on? Like, what are we doing? Which now I see, okay, that's what I had to experience to realize that you're there and I love you. That's kind of like how I go about telling my parts, so they can then kind of like claim my own power. Yeah, that's all.
Lola, would you like to speak to that too?
So I'd say it was in conversion therapy where I had this kind of mind-blowing realization. And they didn't even know what they were saying, but they said to us, God is equally masculine and feminine. And it blew my mind. I'm like, conservatives are saying that God is non-binary. Like, it blew my mind. They didn't actually leave out that truth. But it struck me in such a powerful way because I had locked my spirituality, my body, my gender, all on being masculine. I needed to be masculine if I wanted to be spiritual. And once I was kind of given permission to explore the different parts of my gender, because if God is non-binary, surely it can be something different than a male. It's really, it set me free to see so many aspects that I hadn't been seeing before. And I do believe that oppressive religion is really rooted in the idea of God in one binary, and it's their specific perspective. But when you break outside of that and you see all of us, all queers, straights, heteros, and we see how diverse God and spirituality can be. So all that to say, breaking free from my gender allowed me to find religion and spirituality anew, because I saw God is multifaceted just like we are.
Yes, that's so good. I so resonate with that myself. I think that the more I reach toward spirituality, toward God, whatever the heck that is, I feel like I'm just a seeker in it. Like, the more that I continue, one, that I knew that I could access spirit, spirituality, God, if you will, like that's when I was able to begin to do drag and see myself as a trans person. So for me, like being trans is a spiritual experience. It's a direct result of my spiritual connection with myself, with you, and with whatever is between all of us, you know, whatever that thing is. And I struggle with like what to call it a lot of the times, and in different settings, I'll say different things, but I just so relate to a lot of that. I'm curious, and I love that you all were able to kind of talk about getting through a lot of things, kind of being on the other side of some really difficult ways that you either saw yourself or experienced yourself or was told about yourself. And I was curious, what role has drag played in that process, if at all? I'm assuming it has. I would love to hear how it has.
Okay, I'll go first, because it was actually how I started finding myself again after lockdown. My partner at the time was going through chemo, and he was very abusive as well. Like he was. Anyways, moving on. I was kind of like closing into myself, and then I was like, okay, something is missing here. And then I put on a song, and obviously at the time I was watching Drag Race, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna pretend I'm on, like in front of the judges and all that, and that literally felt liberating because I didn't know how to express my emotions. So, and then I bought makeup, and I started kind of like painting, and it wasn't even about drag. I feel like it was the art form of it, and kind of like you know, connecting with your body and like listening to it and being like, oh, I want more here, or like, you know, that kind of stuff. So that was for sure like the first thing that kind of like got me into this the first place. Otherwise, I feel like I don't know how else would I be here. And actually today, when I was doing my makeup, I just felt so liberated when I was doing it. I was like, I've missed this, you know, like I haven't done it in a while. And I was like, this is so healing, you know? And I'm like, why am I not going out there? I know why, obviously, because my imposter syndrome, obviously. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so nice. And now that I'm in the UK, I feel safe enough to kind of like embrace it, you know? So yeah. Thank you.
Yes, along those lines, this I think means so much to me, the idea of my drag linked to, you know, that process, because my feminine was everything I was denied and forbidden from accepting as a child. So now to be able to say, no, bitch, like, no, you don't get to, you know, put that on me, releasing me to be free. I'm now celebrating everything I had repressed for so long. So to me, that was the first phase. And from then I thought, well, I let some people tell me what my gender should be. Now that I've accepted more of my gender through drag, am I going to let people tell me because I'm different, I can't be spiritual? So to me, drag was the catalyst to say, no, I'm taking my gender back and I'm taking my spirituality back. I, you know, deserve to be alive in love, in God, all the beautiful things religion talk about. That is for me as a non-binary person, as a drag artist. If anything, you know, I have more perspective, not putting myself in one binary. So drag to me set me free to become spiritually alive.
I love what both of you said, Lola and Chrissy, and especially Lola about God being non-binary. And this is actually what started me to get thinking about even doing drag. So for me, drag was a moment of feminism on so many levels, because for me, growing up with the Bible and the Coptic Church in particular, again, it's very masculine centered. But my biggest influences were Queen Esther in the Old Testament, which was a powerhouse. You have Mary Magdalene, who was possessed with 7 demons, who was told she's at a point of no return, but yet with love, compassion, and healing, she was brought back. And Mother Mary, who was a tender mother, loving, compassion, but empowering. These women were so empowering, and I wanted to, those were my patron saints growing up. So for me, I wanted to embody that femininity in a way that shows people that being a woman does not make you less than. Being non-binary does not make you less than. Being trans does not make you less than. If anything, it puts you above that patriarchal understanding of what human, of normal should be. And so for me, being in drag is a message for myself, but it also allowed me to be able to overcome so much mental health challenges and really being able to speak up more. There's kind of a masking aspect to drag in so many levels, but it's not at the same time, because now I use it to reflect what's inside of me, but on the outside. My body's a paint, it's a canvas where I'm able to showcase that I keep my beard is getting bigger than ever. I don't wear a wig, but yet it's this gender that I'm doing to kind of show people that this, you're confused, good, let's talk about it, let's have a conversation, kind of thing. So for me, it's also a way to start having people to speak and talk about things that matter, that need to happen, that need to change. And especially around spirituality, there's something so spiritual and healing around drag. I used to be one of those people that used to be like, oh, drag queens, ew, I'll never be with one, and so on. And look where I am today, right? So the things I've had to unlearn so much. And once I've learned it, and it was through watching Drag Race and some of my drag friends where they said, drag saved them. And I was like, that created curiosity in me where I was like, what does that mean? And I'll never forget, I put on those lashes and I was done. Then I put on the heels and it was over from there. The heels, oh my God, 6-inch stilettos, they broke now. But I remember putting these on and walking down the village in Toronto and being like, the world is my runway. It's about time now that I put my people in the forefront of conversations and being able to speak about the Middle Eastern community, not just from a Muslim perspective, but also there's Christian Middle Easterners who are constantly not spoken about on so many levels. So that drag really is what this is. That's why I do it. And that's what allows me to do. And it's me. Yeah.
I love that. I've had the same experience with drag. It's interesting how it's like something that's, I guess, if you will, put on, like the rest of the world sees more on us than maybe what was there before, but it's really more about pulling out that which was already in us and just kind of putting it on the outside, which is so interesting. It's not even really being more or less than anything, but just appearing slightly different. I think let's see if we had some questions. For folks, we do have about 15 minutes left, so if you do have a question of our panelists, now is a really great time to do that. So what I would like to do, though, at this point, since we are getting down to about the last 15 minutes, give you each, a few more minutes to speak more about kind of like your spirituality and how your spirit is, I guess, speaking more just about how your spirit is embodying, how you embody your spirit. There we go. That's what I was going for.
Okay, I'll go. How do I embody my spirit? I don't know. It's a daily practice. I feel like it's a daily practice of listening to my body. That's like, we don't want to go there. We want to chill today, or we are so excited, or that's the new realization that I'm having lately, like kind of like having a connection with my heart that I could relate to the disassociation part before. So I feel like once you come back to earth, at least for me, obviously, that's how I embody my spirit. And also from a perspective, when I did past life regressions, I kind of like got to connect with that spirit, what everyone is talking about. And you're like, oh my gosh, I've been here all the time, you know? And then you realize who you really are underneath all those layers and all those parts of you. So I guess for me, that's it, coming back to my heart and realizing what's really the truth. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Thank you.
To me, I feel like the strongest manifestation of spirit in my life, or embodying spirit, is very simple in that it is love. And yes, it starts with love for ourselves and accepting every part of who we are. But it's very biblical to test spirit by its fruits, right? And I love that, because when you're bearing fruit in your life, you know, that's a spiritual act, to be able to love yourself, to be able to love another person. So for a long time, the streams that I ran in of evangelicalism kept talking about these coming revivals that were coming, and, you know, people were just going to get saved in the streets, and all of these, the gays were going to turn straight. So I do think that there was a bit of truth to that. I do think that there is a spiritual awakening happening right now. It's just, it doesn't belong to, you know, these chauvinist, heteronormative, you know, it belongs to the queer people that have done the work of having to be hated for just being who they are, to then find love for themselves. That journey alone helps us find love for those around us. So I do think that just practicing love is the most spiritual act I can do. And I do believe that as we continue our art as queer people, that revival belongs to us. I believe that we're the ones equipped to say, God is love, just like that. So in embodying love in my life and in showing love to other people, less in a bullshit way, but in a real practical sense, I believe that is, you know, the ultimate manifestation of spirit in my life.
I love that. Both of you, I mean, so we're all on the same page on so many levels, and I love that so much, because everything that you're saying, I resonate with. And, you know, Lola, I always tell people, I'm like, every single one of us here and everyone that's part of the Dragon Spirituality Summit, we see a world that 99% of the rest of the world will never understand. So we see a light that they will never see. So they need to learn it from us, to kind of reach out to us instead of us going to them constantly to learn about spirituality. We have now a tool that was given to us that's beyond their capabilities, and let's share that together. I mean, that's what my ancestors did. I mean, they were astrology, the whole thing. Anyway, I could go on about this, and it's not answering the question about how to embody my spirit. So I practice something called ecotherapy. Ecotherapy is the practice of connecting with nature and every molecule that's around you in the world and how you synchronize with it. But you have to start internally. So you always visit your mind, see what you're thinking, what you're visualizing, what you hear in your head. And then you go into the emotions. And then from the emotions, like really what you're feeling. And are you down? Are you happy? Are you, those feelings? And how are they communicating with the mind? So it's kind of visualizing this light that's moving, that electrical light that's communicating between the mind and the emotions. And from there you go into your guts, your organs. How are your organs responding to all of this? And from your organs you go back to the emotions. How are they affected? Are they communicating? And then to your mind, go back up and down, and then into the physical body, the senses. How are they feeling? What are they smelling? And so on. And you keep visualizing the external, that light going from the fingertips to your tip of your toes, in your body, into your organs, into your emotions, into your mind, and then up and down until they learn how to communicate and let the spirit really move that way. And that light for me is the spirit inside of me, the Holy Spirit that speaks to me and allows me to have that instinct, that gut intuition that nobody else is having, that those premonitions that I get, to be able to hear, to do divine card readings on the way through prayer, and really embody messages that a lot of people can't really hear. But I have the ability to. So yeah, that's how I embody spirit, and through the practice of ecotherapy, which is a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Do we have any questions in the house? They're being shy. But anyway, we can go ahead, and I just wanted to thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. With this summit, we really wanted to try to make it as accessible as possible. And in some situations, we couldn't all be like a guest here in real life, and I love that you all were willing to show up today. And be a part of this conversation. Especially, I think embodiment is something like, for me, I'm still learning a lot about what that means, and mostly what that feels like. Like, I've always known that I didn't really live in my body, and I never had that much of a relationship with my body, but once I started transitioning and started taking hormones and doing these sorts of things, I actually I feel like I'm living in my body, and I'm starting to really recognize what I was missing out on. And what more can be gained by living in one's body and not in just one's mind. And I think it's my spirit is the thing that's guiding that exploration and building that connection between the head and the body, and really, I think, getting into wholeness. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. And if there are no other questions, then I think we can go ahead and call that a panel. Oh, wait, Lola.
Just something that I kind of wanted to put a button on things with. This is so awesome that this is even happening, right? And to me, it confirms so much in my spirit, because the drag aspect of who God is has been repressed for a long time. And I really believe now it's our turn to show that spirituality is acceptance, it's love, it's about looking out for one another. And I just think that today, this whole conference is a reminder that, it's now the queers and the drag artists' turn to manifest God through our actions, through our practices. Any path you go on, I believe, can reveal God to you, as long as it's coming from love. So I think drag is a spiritual practice, and I think the best we can do to manifest spirit in our world is to love and receive love in ourselves and in others.
Powerful. Thank you so much. I think that's a great way for us to end. All right. I'm the worst. I'm bye. It's over. No. Thanks so much. I can't wait to meet you all in person.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, sorry, I did not mean to jump in the echo, but thank you so much, Bonnie. I mean, if it wasn't for our mutual friends who told me about you, I would not be here today. And I'm super, super grateful that the spirit, the energies of the world brought us together, and for me to meet some wonderful, amazing humans in front of me that, like Lola said, that confirms that I don't feel so alone anymore on this, because being queer and spirituality and sometimes religious, some people are, it's very stigmatized. And so it does not feel like that being here. So thank you.
Say something. Chrissy, did you want to try something too?
I guess, yeah, it's just the same housekeeping. Thank you. And hopefully next year I'll be there, and then I can also join the orgy, the after party. So thank you for having me. Thank you, guys.
In the words of Walter Mercado, Mucho Mucho AMOR.
Hi there, this is Bonnie Violet again. Thanks so much. We really hope you enjoyed our panel discussion or the plenary or whatever part of the Dragon Spirituality Summit you just listened to. We wanted to give a big shout out to a queer chaplain for hosting this event along with the Urban Village Church in Chicago. You can check out the links in the description to connect with each of those orgs and learn more about their work. Also, to continue to support the work of the Dragon Spirituality Podcast, feel free to also check out our Patreon, where you could contribute on a monthly basis to help support the work of this podcast, along with all the productions from a queer chaplain. Thanks so much, and like I said, check out those links and show us some love, and let us know what you think. Like, what did you enjoy? What did you enjoy? Yeah. What would you like to hear more of? Yeah, let us know. We'd love to hear from you, and work in designing next year's Dragon Spirituality Summit 2023 to take place in San Francisco, California. Take care and be well. Bye-bye.